In this media literacy video, we're going to be talking about something important for understanding narrative conversation. This very topic may be affecting conversations you are having to this day. We've discussed things like death of the author and the subjectivity of fiction. But there are a lot of ways that someone can examine a story. Some people look for great character writing, some people look for bombastic fights, some look for nuances in storytelling or series-spanning foreshadowing. But what a lot of analysis cannot escape is two fundamental frameworks that help put up analysis. These two frameworks are diegetic versus exegetic or exegetic, whatever you want to call it really. These days in online spaces, the terms have kind of evolved and they're now known as Watsonian and Doylist. These are two terms that come from Sherlock Holmes fans. However, I've not seen Sherlock Holmes. I'm not that old, unfortunately. To put it simply, a Watsonian or diegetic analysis is one that uses in-universe logic to justify itself. It uses what we know from the narrative to craft its analysis, or uses facts established by the story to justify itself. We can use an example here. So, for example, to someone using a Watsonian framework, if the first book in a trilogy contains an egregious error, for example, maybe one that could be considered a plot hole, but was then patched up by the second or the third book, either one, doesn't really matter, this alleged plot hole would no longer be something worth discussing, as using the in-universe logic, it gets patched up at some point in the world the story takes place in. Therefore, in a diegetic analysis, it will be examined as an interesting inconsistency, not in the story, but from the characters who talked about the event, or the world itself as is described. Now, a Doylist would take a different crack at this analysis. The inherent difference is that in a Doylist analysis, the in-universe logic is not necessarily taken into consideration, but rather, the world is viewed as what it is, a work with a creator. It accepts that stories are something created by a human being, and that human beings are fallible, that real-life circumstances will influence the creation of art. Let's take a look at the previous example. The plot hole was fixed, so through a Watsonian analysis, there's no issue, and the story was just waiting to reveal this information. However, a Doylist analysis would say that this was just a genuine mistake of the authors, and the editors who failed to catch the error, of course, and that it's not necessarily true that just because it gets solved in a later book means that this was always in the cards, but when you're working on future material, you can always go back to retroactively fix previous errors. Ultimately, these two created examples kind of lack a lot of context, so it's kind of hard to form an opinion. There could be so many factors that would determine an analysis here. But these two frameworks cause many rifts in conversation, because people don't think about them. I can't tell you how many times I've been having a conversation with someone, or seeing a conversation on some place like Twitter and going, oh, this guy actually thinks that this story is real life, like this story actually happened, because they're using a strictly Watsonian analysis. This is not on the forefront of people's minds, but if you have this knowledge, you can have better conversations. Allow me to create a couple of examples that we could use to look into this more. Let's create a situation in a story that has surely never happened. Let's say that character A, let's go ahead and draw character A. He's got a really flat head. Make him cheer. There we go. Let's say character A has an arc about finding purpose in life and continuing to live on as a human being. Let's say character A, and maybe let's give him a blockhead, character B, and he's screaming too. He's like, oh shit. They are put in a situation where character B is going to die. But character A intervenes to save their life and dies in their place. Now, this decision is split amongst the reading base. Because, well, some people find this to be running opposite of character A's arc of living and continuing on. Let's say that esteemed channel member Dragon Gus comes in, and he's like, well, somebody had to die in that situation to save that character. What else were they supposed to do? Just let character B die? And then we have other esteemed channel member Scon arrive. Let's make him like really tall. He's like really tall. There we go. And he goes, hey, this is a fictional story. The author made the decision to kill this character. They could have simply written a different scenario, because this isn't real life. Dragon Gus would be using a Watsonian analysis, whereas Scon would be using a Doylist one. And due to that, they may never be able to come to an agreement. Hell, we can even use a real-life example. I'm going to try to be vague about this because this does use a real-life series, and I don't want to spoil people on the ending of it, but let's take friend of the channel Bubba discussing a particular series. Bubba's main criticism of a story beat is that character A killed character B because of character C's actions. The response to this criticism is, well, he killed character B because he had to, as you can see in this post here. That's exactly what they're saying. If he didn't, then character C would have taken over the world. Bubba's retort is that character C is not real, and there was no magical entity that imposed upon the manga that made this situation. Because of clashing frameworks, people had no idea what Bubba was talking about. And they tried to quote retweet and dunk on him for it. Yeah, I don't know what this word salad is. I'm now realizing that I'm arguing with someone who unironically typed this word vomit. And this is the fundamental difference. And also, I did have a video just recently talking about why anime discourse is so terrible, and this post is kind of a prime example of it as well. And there is again that fundamental misunderstanding in arguments because people are not playing the same sport here. You can find it all the time in fiction debates. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put my bias on the table here. I think more often than not, Watsonian analysis is lacking a lot of the time. In my view, it often appears as narrow-minded and missing a much broader and more interesting view of art, because a lot of the time, being trapped exclusively to in-universe mechanics is very, very limiting, and refusing to step back and view the story as a work created by an author also arbitrarily limits you when it comes to even appreciating what a story can tell. Using Doylist frameworks is how you can get really interesting allegories to things that are happening in the real world. However, that doesn't mean that Watsonian analysis is always irrelevant, and we can cook up an example where Watsonian analysis may prevail. Let's say we have a situation where a character makes a statement about something for the lore of a story, like in-universe mythology, and later on, it's revealed that the character was wrong. And the actual mythology differs from the story they just told. This is where our first user, let's say Barthol, let's give him the yellow color here. He can come in here. He's got really long arms, and we can give him a little pungent smell here. It's called aura, bruh. Anyway, Barthol comes in, and he would say, the author clearly just changed their mind and retconned how mythology went. The story differs so massively that they must have regretted writing that and actively sought to change it later on in future installments. This would be a Doylist approach to this scenario, but you have to ask, is a Doylist approach necessary here? Now, I think it's fine to experiment with frameworks. Barthol didn't do anything inherently wrong here by trying to apply it, but it feels like an incorrect judgment, and that's when we can have matter come in. Let's make matter red, and matter can be really little. He's really little. Matter could say that there's nothing to support that Doylist analysis. There's no author interviews, no editor's notes, no nothing. What this does is disagree with the interpretation by saying it has nothing to really stand on, and then using a Watsonian analysis, Matter could assert that the character was just wrong, that the truth of the mythology involved was supposed to be obfuscated until this point, or even more daring. Maybe in a real story with real context, one could make the arguments that the character was trying to mislead someone by telling it that way, that they had an incentive for it, and then boom, you've just added intrigue to your story. For the last example, I provided a made-up one and then a real one. Well, I have another real example now, and I could use My Hero Academia again. Some of you might have been around for this, others might not have been. My Hero Academia, during its very early stages, introduced the concept of a traitor to its story. We went a long time without any further updates about that, leading to lots of misinformation about how Horikoshi forgot about the plotline. This forum post is one of hundreds, if not thousands, of online posts about how, apparently, Horikoshi forgot about the traitor plot. From a Doylist perspective, it's possible you can make that claim, but there's still nothing to support it. Even though people consider me MHA's biggest hater, I never thought he forgot about it, and later on, we learned that he had intended to reveal the plotline way long ago, but due to poor reader reception, he had to rush the arc it was going to happen in. That's what this volume extra here says. It basically says it was supposed to happen in volume 9 or 10 or whatever. Because people weren't liking the arc, he cut it. Now, Doylist frameworks can update to take into account this meta information of Horikoshi being put into the place to kind of fuck up that storyline, while Watsonians can talk about why it took so long to reveal in-universe, hence forming the two frameworks. And while I was just working in defense of Watsonian, I think more people need to appreciate a Doylist perspective. People should work to stop viewing stories as things that really happened, so that they can more honestly engage with criticism, because the difference between people who use Watsonian and the people who use Doylist is staggering. It is completely lopsided in Watsonian favor. The number one defense people have is this one quote from Araki, in which he states he loses control of the actions of main characters and they write themselves. People see this and they're like, see? He's being possessed by the Lord. Need I remind you, there is no spiritual entity that is taking over the body of Hirohiko Araki to cause him to write JoJo's. Araki is not stating that he is completely powerless in the writing of his stories, but simply that he has been put into situations where he writes things he himself does not enjoy because he feels that he would be betraying the series itself. He is not relinquishing his own power. You don't have JoJo's characters reaching out of his face to grab the pen. He's saying that he writes things he doesn't want to. He was not possessed by God. Ultimately, to have good faith conversations, a framework needs to be established, and you need to know what both sides are arguing from. Next time you see people say something stupid, or next time you're in an argument about a story, think about where they are coming from. Are they in the Watsonian trenches, where they are viewing it from a self-justification perspective, or are they in the Doylist clouds looking over the trenches and criticizing their structure? This channel is big on good faith discussions, and that's what I'm trying to help cultivate. I hope this video gave you a better perspective on conversations about fiction at large. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe for more. You can also check the description down below to become a member, which gives you benefits like early videos, membership badges, and cool custom emotes. You can join the Discord where we talk about ReZero, Kagurabachi, Jujutsu Kaisen, and all kind of stuff. Additionally, you can go to the channel store and pick up some awesome stickers made by our channel artist, so you can carry the power of Graphia with you on your water bottle. That's about it though. Thank you for watching. See ya.